We are counting down the 10 most stall-proof aircraft ever engineered. These are machines that refuse to obey the deadliest law in flight. From vintage classics that eliminated spin with pure mechanical brilliance to radical wing geometries and modern jet ski-inspired designs, this lineup reveals the asymmetric advantages that make crashing from a stall nearly impossible. What ingenious hack let engineers outsmart the laws of aerodynamics, and why do not all planes use these safety secrets? Let us launch this countdown, starting with number 10. Fred Weick looked at the stall spin epidemic of the 1930s and decided the problem was not the airplane. His answer was the Ercoupe 415C, a polished aluminum twin-tail machine that broke every rule in the book. Forget rudder pedals. The Ercoupe uses a yoke that links the ailerons and the rudder together so the pilot cannot cross control, cannot skid, and physically cannot enter a spin. Test pilots tried everything. 103 deliberate spin attempts. Full backstick, pro spin inputs. The Ercoupe just mushed along, nose bobbing, never rolling off. It was unspinnable in practice. FAA stamped its type certificate, a 61 with words no other production airplane has earned, characteristically incapable of spinning. At stall speed, just 28 to 31 miles per hour, the Ercoupe simply settles, wings level, with the airspeed indicator buried at the bottom. Over 5,000 left the factory, each a mechanical promise that geometry could outsmart gravity. This was safety by subtraction. Remove the rudder, remove the spin. The Ercoupe proved you could engineer your way out of the deadliest corner in aviation, starting the countdown with pure linkage genius. Burt Rutan's Long-EZ looks like it belongs on another planet, but its secret is pure aerodynamic logic. The small canard out front isn't just for show. It is the key to a self-correcting stall sequence that rewrites the rulebook. The canard is set to reach its maximum lift at a lower angle of attack than the main wing, about 12 degrees up front, while the big wing in back can keep flying up to 16 degrees. When the pilot pulls the stick all the way back, the canard always gives up first. The nose gently nods down, airspeed builds, and the canard starts flying again before the main wing ever gets close to quitting. The result isn't a stall, but a controlled cycle, a bobbing descent, never a spin. Flight logs from the late 1970s show pilots holding full aft stick at speeds in the mid-30s, the Long-EZ simply refusing to break. Rutan called it geometry-beating pilots. There is no formal spin-proof certificate, but thousands of home builders trust the Long-EZ's canard sequence to keep them out of the Coffin Corner. Elegant, efficient, and engineered for safety by design. The Icon A5 does not just flirt with stall resistance. It is the first light sport aircraft to earn the FAA spin-resistant airframe certification. Its secret is not hidden in a computer or a control lock. It is geometry, pure and simple. The wing has a pronounced cuff that droops 5 to 7 degrees at the leading edge, and the elevator is limited to just 22 degrees of upward travel. That means when a pilot yanks the stick all the way back, the air still hugs the wing at angles that would send most planes flipping. During development, the Icon team ran more than 360 test flights, abusing every variable, full flaps, aft center of gravity, power on, power off, and pro-spin controls held for 7 seconds straight. Not once did the airplane enter a spin. The numbers back it up. Stall speeds went down to 27 miles per hour, and the fleet logged over 10,000 hours without a single documented spin. The FAA even wrote a new rulebook page for this machine. It is not magic, it is physics, certified. You can still crash it by flying into terrain, but you cannot make it spin. The Morane-Saulnier Rallye turns brute mechanics into a lifesaver. On this French workhorse, the secret sits right up front. Spring-loaded leading-edge slats that snap open the moment airspeed drops below about 40 knots. There is no switch, no computer, just pure physics and a sharp metallic bang as the slats deploy. When airflow slows, pressure drops, and those heavy slats leap forward, they grab more air and force it to stick to the wing even as the nose pitches skyward. With the slats out, the Rallye's wing can hold onto lift at angles of attack up to 25 degrees, territory where most planes would be deep into a stall. The result is a plane that simply refuses to let go. Pilots talk about hanging on the prop at 45 degrees nose up, the Rallye mushing along, never braking, never rolling off into a spin. The numbers back it up. Stall speed is just over 30 knots, and spin accidents make up less than 0.5% of reported incidents. The Rallye's pilot manual warns about checking for slat jams after icing, a nod to real-world rescue missions in the Alps where mechanics once had to heat and lever stuck slats back into position. But when they work, and they almost always do, the Rallye's slats deliver a mechanical miracle. This is safety by brute force. A machine that shouts when it is working, grabs the air, and simply will not let go, no matter how slow you fly. Oleg Antonov's An-2 is the world's largest single-engine biplane, but its secret isn't brute force, it's sheer surface area. With 829 square feet of wing, the An-2 has more lifting skin than some commuter jets. There is no trickery here, no slats, no cuffs, just two massive wings stacked high and low, working together to grab the air long after most planes would have quit. The result is that the An-2 does not stall in the classic sense. At slow speeds, the elevator hits its stop before the wings ever lose lift. Pull the stick all the way back, and the airplane simply mashes downward, a controlled, stable descent. The official pilot's handbook says if the engine fails at night or in fog, pull full aft and descend at parachute rate until you reach the ground. That rate is just 25 miles per hour, slower than some skydivers drop. In strong headwinds, the An-2 can even fly backward relative to the ground. There is a reason pilots call it the parachute with an engine. In 1991, a mail flight over Yakutia lost power in thick fog. The crew followed the manual, held full aft, and the An-2 floated down through the clouds. Everyone walked away. The trade-off is drag. Cruise speed tops out around 65 miles per hour. But no other production airplane lets you descend under control with the wings still flying, at speeds that would spell disaster for anything else in the sky. The Piper Super Cub doesn't outsmart physics with gadgets or clever geometry, it simply muscles through the laws of lift with brute force. Under the skin, it's all about power to weight. A 150 horsepower engine and a wing that stretches 178 square feet give it a loading of just 0.15 horsepower per pound. That means the propeller can claw the Cub upward at speeds where other planes would be falling out of the sky. Stall speed comes in at just 38 miles per hour, but the real magic happens below that number. With full power, the Super Cub can hang on the prop, nose pitched high, airspeed indicator flirting with 0, and still keep flying. Pilots push this to the extreme in bush flying contests. At the Valdez short takeoff and landing competition, Frank Knapp's Super Cub lifted off in just 18 feet, less than the length of the airplane itself. Modifications like vortex generators and oversized tires only sharpen its claws, letting the Cub land in under 100 feet and take off from spots that look more like gravel bars than runways. There is no slat, no canard, no trick, just raw lift and thrust working together to keep the airplane flying when physics says it shouldn't. The trade-off is fuel burn and a climb rate that can outpace the fuel gauge. But in the world of slow flight control, nothing else gives the pilot this kind of authority. The Super Cub earns its spot as the bush legend, the plane that lets you write your own rules for where flight begins and ends. The Diamond DA-20 wears its glider heritage on its sleeve. With a wingspan of 35 feet and a slender fuselage, it has an aspect ratio of 9.1 to 1, numbers that put it closer to a sailplane than a typical trainer. This geometry is not just for looks, it is a physics lesson in how to tame the stall. Instead of a dramatic break or a wing drop, the DA-20 delivers what pilots call a mush. As the airspeed indicator slides down toward 33 miles per hour, the root of the wing gently loses lift first, while the long, narrow tips keep airflow attached. The result is a subtle dip of the nose and a steady, controlled descent, never a snap, never a spin. Aileron authority remains throughout, so the pilot can steer even while the stall warning chirps. This is not brute force or mechanical trickery, it is pure aerodynamic efficiency. Diamond designers, drawing on decades of glider experience, built a wing that refuses to punish the pilot for going slow. Flight schools around the world choose the DA-20 for that reason. The official pilot operating handbook calls it a polite descent, and accident records back it up. Stall-related incidents are rare, and spin entries are virtually unheard of. In the DA-20, the geometry itself is the safety system, making it the quiet overachiever of the stall-resistant world. Here, slow flight is not a risk, it is a feature. Cessna's 182 Skylane is a workhorse, but with the Robertson short takeoff and landing modification, it becomes something else entirely. A geometry experiment that rewrites the stall script. The secret is a drooped leading-edge cuff molded onto the wing at an angle of 3 to 5 degrees. This is not a slat or a flap, it is a fixed extension that subtly reshapes the airflow over the wing. At slow speeds, the cuff shifts the stagnation point downward and keeps the boundary layer glued to the surface even as the nose rises toward the stall. The result is a wing that clings to lift at angles where a standard 182 would already be dropping. Test pilots flying the Robertson kit reported stall speeds dropping from the low 50s down to the low 40s, often a 5 to 7 knot reduction, verified in the FAA Supplemental Type Certificate, SA1000GL data. Approach speeds slow to a crawl, and short field landings become routine. Pilots talk about setting down in strips that used to be off-limits, rolling to a stop in a fraction of the usual distance. The numbers are not theoretical. Side-by-side flights show the modified 182 touching down and stopping, while the stock version is still floating. What sets the Robertson apart is its retrofit philosophy. This is not a clean sheet design or a factory option. It is an aftermarket geometry hack that democratizes safety, letting any 182 owner buy their way into slow flight confidence. The cuff does not eliminate stalls entirely, but it transforms them from a sharp edge into a soft warning. For pilots who want to fly slower, land shorter, and keep control deeper into the envelope, the Robertson short takeoff and landing kit turns the ordinary Skylane into a machine that bends the rules in favor of safety. This is geometry bolted on. The Piper Cherokee 140 wears its nickname Hershey Bar with pride. This is the most honest wing in general aviation, a flat rectangular slab with an aspect ratio of 7.1, stretched straight out from the fuselage with no sweep, no taper, no tricks. What looks like a shortcut is actually a calculated move for safety. That constant chord plan form, paired with 3 degrees of washout, means the wing root, the part closest to the fuselage, always stalls first. The tips, where the ailerons live, keep flying even as the stall warning horn blares. You can pull the yoke all the way back at 49 miles per hour, and instead of a snap roll or a wing drop, the Cherokee just settles with full roll authority. A OPA test, pilots have called it loyal, because even in a full stall, you can steer the airplane. This is not about efficiency. The rectangular wing drags through the sky and burns more fuel than a tapered design, but it refuses to surprise the pilot. Flight instructors love it for this reason. Student pilots can botch the approach, overshoot the flare, or ride the stall warning across the fence, and the wing will still give them a fighting chance. The pilot operating handbook spells it out: route first stall, ailerons effective, predictable recovery. The Cherokee 140 is not flashy, but it is the golden retriever of airplanes, steady, forgiving, and always ready to bring you home. In a world obsessed with speed and sleekness, it proves that sometimes the safest path is the simplest one. The Cessna 337 Skymaster turns twin-engine fear on its head. In a world where most twins threaten pilots with the deadliest trap in multi-engine flying, the VMC roll, the Skymaster simply refuses to play by those rules. Centerline thrust. Lines its 2 engines along the fuselage, front and rear. VMC, the minimum control speed, is the number every multi-engine pilot learns to respect. In a conventional twin, if one engine quits near VMC, asymmetric thrust yanks the nose sideways, and the airplane can flip over in seconds. The margin for error is razor thin. The Skymaster uses a push-pull design, with one engine pulling at the nose and one pushing at the rear. There is no thrust off to one side. If an engine fails, the airplane just slows down. No sudden yaw, no roll, just a gentler reduction in climb, about 300 feet per minute instead of the usual 1,200 feet per minute, but always flying straight. Push-pull, centerline layout makes the difference. Flight test reports from the 1960s and 1970s show the Skymaster holding heading on single-engine climbs, the rudder barely touched. The pilot handbook omits the VMC placard because there is no critical speed to fear. In side-by-side demonstrations, pilots cut an engine at rotation. A conventional twin like a Baron yaws hard and demands full opposite rudder, risking loss of control. The Skymaster stays glued to the centerline, the only drama a longer takeoff roll and a shallower climb. Accident records tell the same story. Conventional twins rack up engine-out loss of control incidents. The Skymaster's centerline thrust all but removes the VMC roll from its vocabulary. The design tackles the deadliest flaw in multi-engine flight. You can still run out of airspeed, altitude, or bad luck, and you can still impact terrain, but you will not spin in from an engine failure. In the hierarchy of asymmetric advantages, the Skymaster sits at the top. It is not the fastest nor the sleekest, but it is the only twin that makes the most dangerous moment in multi-engine flying a non-event. That is why it takes the #1 spot on the Uncrashable list. Across all 10 aircraft, one truth emerges. Safety is a function of geometry, not just pilot skill. These designs prove that the deadliest risk in aviation is loss of control. It can be engineered out by embracing slowness and creative physics. In a world obsessed with speed, these planes remind us, arriving home is the ultimate victory. Which design surprised you most? Let's talk in the comments.